Welcome back everyone to theCUBE's coverage here in our Palo Alto studios. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. We are here for a special presentation with theCUBE plus the NYSE Wired community. Brian Bauman at the NYSE putting together a great network of folks combining theCUBE and NYSE community in an open way. It's an open source network of leaders. We're doing the CFO AI series here with the AI leaders in Silicon Valley as part of our Silicon Valley point of presence, our access point as we say, and then of course we got the new studio at the New York Stock Exchange floor. We're doing interviews there in that community, but we got a great set of content, really breaking down the impact of AI and how it's impacting people's lives. And of course, the business model transformations are a huge part of the conversations that's now on everyone's plate, including the CFO, CISO, everyone else. And all apps are being built with generative AI, so we're starting to see that. Kapil Agrawal is here, Chief Financial Officer with Outschool. We just talked about your former relationship with Poshmark. Manish, great guy. And Manish, if you're watching, shout out to you. Good, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, John, for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So talk about Outschool real quick. I love your mission. I've been a huge fan of progressive, new ways to educate folks. And you got data involved. There's a lot of cool things. Give a quick, brief description of Outschool, how it was formed, and some of the milestones and where you guys are today.
Yeah, John, we are an online learning platform for kids between 3 to 18 years old. On our platform, we have over 140,000 classes, and you name it. We not only cater to academic learning of the kids, but we also cater to non-academic learning of those kids. So for example, my daughter, she's 7-year-old, and she takes chess classes on the platform, and she absolutely loves it. My son, on the other side, he takes math classes outside the school on one-on-one tutoring. So we offer not only small group classes, but we also offer one-on-one live tutoring classes. We have over 5,000 very high-quality teachers on our platform, and it's a global platform. We support not only kids in the US, but also all over the globe. For example, I come from a very small town in India, and I never had access to high-quality teachers. But hopefully, a lot of those kids now, they can get the high-quality access to that education because of the teachers, high-quality teachers which are available on our platform, and they can cater to every kid around the globe. We started in 2015 as a homeschooling platform, and during the COVID, there was no other means for the kids to learn, and we accelerated our journey during that time. But post-COVID, we continue to grow our platform because there is an inherent demand for the platform like us in the globe.
You know, I love your mission. So first of all, thanks for sharing your personal story. You know, I've always been, even 20 years ago when I did the first podcast venture, one of the 3 venture-backed podcasts. We were early, 20 years too early, but back then the democratization was a conversation. We saw that firsthand. It took 20 years, and now YouTube, I think the statistics are, people watch YouTube, at least 80% of anyone under the age of 25 is watching YouTube. And so this idea of discovery of information is now the digital culture. We're seeing it here. I was just talking to some founders here about theCUBE and why we do what we do and why the Wired Network exists, is that we want to get content out there for discovery. So you have democratization, which is access. And with digital technology, you are one click away. And what you guys have done is built a community around learning. And homeschooling, by the way, is picking up steam because these institutions that aren't adopting the learning process, linear learning, and they haven't really flexed into a hybrid world yet, and I think they try to, but there's so many barriers. Again, I don't want to go on my soapbox here, but people know, if they watch the CUBE pod, they know I talk a lot about this. Education, healthcare, these are areas that are going to be disrupted, and you guys are doing that, so thanks for what you do. I have to ask you because, you know, when Khan Academy started, I talked with the founder and the team there, I think 2011, 2010, during the big data movement. They were getting steam. They actually had data that shows some of the learning progressions that were not obvious in any kind of educational workflow. Can you share how you guys look at this from a business model standpoint? Because data is critical. Obviously, you got to have the teachers, the mechanisms for teaching, but it's online, it's interactive. You probably have different scenarios and use cases. Talk about the technology and then how that translates to the business model.
Yeah, one of our core mission is that we want to have love of learning for kids. And a lot of the time, these are the formative years for kids. If you think about the elementary and middle school, those are the formative years for kids, and that will determine how they progress over their career in their entire life. And you rightfully mentioned that a lot of the traditional school systems that they are failing because they don't have the access to data. They can't customize their curriculum to the individual needs. And when we look into the data on our platform, that what kids are learning, by looking into the data on our platform, we can understand that an individual kid, what subject he's liking or what he's enjoying. And then we can provide the parents much more customized guidance on what they should offer to their kids much more often. Also, I'll give from my own personal example. My dad, he never completed his high school education, but he made sure that all three of myself and three of our siblings get a very customized and personalized education. I did engineering. My brother did more of a finance education, and my sister did more of a business education, and very, very customized and different education. And we are lucky. And we want to do the same for each kid around the world, that how we can provide a more customized curriculum to them rather than a traditional school environment, which is much more focused and can't be customized to individual needs.
As a CFO, you get in a lot of different ventures here. That's a progressive venture, love it. With that mission in mind, I would put you in the category of very progressive CFO. But you also have to manage the money, making sure you're spending properly, but you got enablement with data. How do you look at the funding and the business architecture, the venture architecture of Outschool? Because there's real impact, okay, as you mentioned. This is moving the needle. How do you look at your job? How do you approach projects? How do you look at the ROI? Take us through some of the mindset of a CFO, because you're pouring gas into the machine, and how fast does that rocket go? I mean, that's your job.
Yeah, the way we are a for-profit company, and the way I think about serving our mission is that there is no mission possible if you don't have the scale. So for me, it's very, very important that I think about how I can scale this platform as much as possible. And we can only scale the company if there's a right unit economics. We are a marketplace business, and we share our economy with the teachers that we have on our platform. We have around 5,000 teachers on our platform, and they price the classes on the platform, and we take 30% as a take rate of the prices they offer. So it's I would say it's a pretty lightweight, asset-light business model, very similar to the other business models that I work with at Uber and Poshmark, and though they are highly profitable platform. And yes, right now we are investing on the technology to build a new innovative system to cater to the kids. But eventually, we have the right unit economics in terms of our paybacks and LTV to CAC. And our goal is that we can continue to accelerate the momentum with the right unit economics that we have in front of us.
That's great. And by the way, I mentioned you were at Uber as well. Uber's been a big CUBE feature. We've been featuring all their tech stack. We love what Uber's done. I mean, they're an example in my mind of business model transformation with a great platform. Really kind of leveraging a lot, because they touch a lot of things, cars, people. I love marketplaces. You see with the cloud hyperscalers, both Amazon Web Services and Google, procurement's changing in marketplace, why can't learning? So again, love the business. Okay, question, what have you learned from your Uber days? Because, and how would you speak to CFOs that are watching that don't have that experience? Because with Gen AI, they're building services. They're trying to get hyper-personalized in the level of the business model innovation. How should a CFO look at their world? Because digital is scaling. It's an opportunity. There might be some blockers and challenges. How would you share your expertise with folks watching, saying, how do I, frame this? How do I get my arms around it? And how do I actually put my day-to-day practice in place?
Yeah, I can talk about my own personal belief and also how we think about it Outschool experience as well. The way I think about AI is a very, very powerful tool. And we should not think it from a perspective of fear or also from greed. The fear is, hey, AI will take away our job. And greed is, hey, everything will be based on AI and my job will be absolute. So I don't think there is a middle path here that we need to embrace the change. We need to embrace AI and use it in our day-to-day lives. The way we think about AI in Outschool's platform, and my belief is as well, that AI is powerful, but human plus AI is the most powerful combination ever. And the way we think about it is that for example, my kids or my son, they still believe in the live learning. They want interaction with other kids in their classes. They also want mentors. The teachers are taking a role of mentor. So the way we think about it is that there is always will be a role of teacher in education, for example, but we use AI to support teachers in their journey and to support their love of teaching the kids. So for example, the the teachers are using AI to create more customized and innovative curriculum to support the kids' journey. They are also using AI to provide much more post-class experience to the kids in terms of generating the assessment or providing a report to the parents and the kids that how the class went and what's the next way ahead for those kids. So my thought process is people should not fear AI, they should embrace AI, and the amazing world in front of us is a good combination of human plus AI.
Yeah, I love that, Kapil. That's a great point. I think people want the face-to-face human interaction. In fact, John Mack, who's as an entrepreneur in the impact area, he's got this thing called Letters to Humanity, where he says, how do we preserve humanity in the digital era? And learning is a lifelong skill. Okay, not just for kids, but you guys are focused on that. The key is the human plus the AI. And in fact, it's well documented in the chess circles. And this has always been put out there, and some people may or may not know it, but they would look at grandmasters going up against the computer, and then the people who weren't grandmasters would always lose, but you give the non-grandmaster AI, they become grandmasters. Some people just have that skill. They just can't get to the focus of a grandmaster without help. But with AI, that's the augmentation, the human in the loop. This is a key part of it, the face-to-face, being part of a group, or you're in school. And then teachers, we're in the media business, they want to do the right thing.
Yes, exactly. And the way I think about it is that, yes, you have the LLMs, and now you are supporting those LLMs with not only language, but also, let's say, voice and images, etc. But humans have emotions and the connections and the empathy. It will be very, very hard. At least I don't see, at least in the 5 to 10 years, how you can take out that component from your the AI. And I think humans supplement that connections and empathy and that emotional learning is very, very important to support that journey.
I love that word connections, because one of the things we're learning with our CUBE of 15 years of doing free videos, kind of open source, there's been great people come up to me, oh, I loved your CUBE. I'm like, oh, wait. And they watch the videos and they love to learn. When we started talking with the NYSC and when we collaborated on the NYSC Wire community that Brian Bauman's doing, is that the connections there's another level of transactions going on that's out in the open in life, as life happens, right? So when you're in school, you can learn with the computer, but you're not isolated. You're actually back in face-to-face. Could you share, I love that, by the way, I'm seeing it happen in real time as we grow this network, but can you give some examples where you've seen the online progressions accelerate and be great, and then how that's translated in the face-to-face, whether it's anecdotal or specific? Because I think that's the secret here, is that you guys cracked the code on learning, but then bringing it to the real world kind of reminds me of training versus inference in the AI world, right? So when you're out in the real world, you're inferring, you're reasoning. Can you share anything you've seen, examples of successes where it's the hybrid kind of first-party relationship of learning to real world?
Yeah, I will give a couple of examples. So there are traditional schools, for example, which have not adopted technology as much as we hope they would. So that's one area. The second is async content. There are a lot of the platforms which only provide the async learnings. And we are in the middle, where we have the live learning platform, where you have the human plus technology. And people can interact not only with the teacher, but they can also interact with other kids in the classes. So we offer, what we have seen on our platform, is the small group classes are the most successful classes on the platform. And I'll give a specific example. Let's say we are big in East Asia, and people want to learn English on our platform, but they prefer to learn it in a small group classes rather than individual setting. So they can learn through an individual teacher on the platform, but they prefer to learn in a small group classes on our platform because they can also interact with the other kids, and they also provide an enhanced learning to them. And
there's bonding going on too. There's relationships being formed.
Yes. Also, it's important to practice with the other kids. And also, you not only learn English, but you also learn the social emotional learning, which is very, very valuable in life. So from my perspective, there is a middle ground here. You can do everything with AI and async, or everything you can do a very traditional format like schools, But we provide a middle ground where we are using the technology as much we can to support the teachers in helping the kids love the learning and have a very progressive career going forward.
So you guys hit the spectrum. So you can want to get async, you can do that.
Yep.
The hybrid is really the group collaboration. That's where work's getting done, the training, the learning, the interactions, social, the human equation. And then the teachers get augmentation. That comes back into the live, or the teachers have a separate thing? How does that work?
No, teacher provide the live classes on the platform. So there are two things that teacher can do. They can provide the live classes, or they can also record their classes and provide that async, which kids can use it later for their support, or if they have left behind in the class, etc. So from teacher perspective, they also enjoy live much more than async, because from a teacher perspective, what they don't like, what I understand is they don't like a lot of the work which is required in the non-student facing work is something that they don't enjoy too much. So for example, course curriculum development, or providing assessment, or report card, that's one thing that they don't enjoy.
Yeah.
But a true teacher or an exceptional teacher will always enjoy mentoring and seeing that shining light to the kids that they're providing learning.
Yeah, you take the grind out of the mix, the report cards and the tabulation and getting all the data. You automate that.
Yes, that's where we are using the AI to automate all of those stuff.
Yeah.
So teachers can be true mentor and the guide. If I remember my journey, I still remember the teachers which taught me 15, 20 years back, and I'm still very, very grateful for the experience that they provided to me. It's not the hard learning that they provided me, but the nuggets of wisdom that they provided from their own experience.
It impacted your life.
Yes.
That's really ultimately the goal here. That's the magic. I want to give you a chance to talk about the company. You can put a plug in, but before we do that, for the folks watching that are CFOs out there, and this is more of a, think about them watching. I'm in an enterprise. I'm building a company. I have to transform my business. I've had known practices. How should CFOs think about technology? I mean, ROI comes up a lot. That's a big conversation, total cost of ownership buying, but integrating AI. At the end of the day, I want to provide a great product, keep my costs low, and maximize my profits. What's your advice to CFOs around AI?
The way I think about it is that a lot of the people think short term, but ultimately you have to think about the long term, that where the world is going. And if you are not going into the same direction, ultimately you will be left behind, because your customer ultimately will want that enhanced technology. And if you can't deliver it, someone else will deliver it.
Yeah.
And while you can get the profits in the short term, if you're not making the investment for the longer term to catch up with the technology, you will ultimately left behind because your customer is not satisfied with your product. So the way I think about it in terms of managing it internally at Outschool is that, yes, in the short term, we'll manage for our paybacks and ROIs, but we'll put a specific dollars for the long-term investment in R&D with a very, very specific focus that we are not looking for returns from that investment in the short term, but more from a long-term investment for the development of the platform and in service of our customers.
And that's consistent with what we're hearing in this summit. That's coming clearly to me, and hearing it is finance has to match their strategy with the business model strategy so that all the architecture is aligned, because the money's flowing, the value proposition seems to be the key thing. And the CFOs have the blueprint. They know where everything is. Thanks for coming on. Give a minute to talk about the company. Love your mission. Put a plug in for it. Stats, what you guys are looking to do. Are you expanding? Share more about Outschool.
Yeah, we are a global platform, John, as I mentioned. We are big in countries like East Asia, for example, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. We are pretty big. We are trying to expand into European and Latin American market. We have over 5,000 expert teachers on the platform. I'm very proud to say that there is no other platform in US which has such a high quality, high skilled teachers on the platform. And we marry the live learning with the technology that we have. And that's why the NPS, both from parents and the kids, is one of the highest on our platform. As I mentioned that we have over 140,000 classes on the platform, and we have served over 1 million students globally throughout our journey. We not only offer homeschooling students, but we also offer one-on-one tutoring, which people who are going to school can also take on as a supplemental to their traditional schools. And we also offer hobby classes. As I mentioned, my daughter takes chess classes, people take math, and other classes on the platform as well.
Great to have you on. Thanks for being part of our community effort here. Thanks for sharing.
Okay, thank you, John.
Love your mission. Love that mission. Again, this is how the society is changing. AI is impacting business model transformation, which if you look at society as a similar kind of concept, yes, society's impact, democratization, big word, supercomputing being democratized. AI is infusing into our lives. Human plus AI is the edge, and certainly we're not going to be replaced anytime soon. Thanks for coming on, appreciate it. I'm John Furrier with theCUBE. Thanks for watching.